When one woman took in a stray dog, she had no idea what she was getting herself into. 2 years later, this poor animal's transformation is absolutely unbelievable.
Before we begin, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos.
Pia took the skeletal dog home with her immediately in the hopes of trying to save him. In all honesty, it looked as if he wouldn't survive the night, but at least she could make him comfortable in his last hours. On December 23, 2017, Good Samaritan Pia discovered a small stray dog that was in need of immediate attention. He was frail and weak, and had lost most of his fur to sickness. It seemed impossible that this dog would ever fully recover from his ailments. Pia was visiting a friend in Buenos Aires, Argentina, who first told her about the dog. The friend had seen him in the neighborhood, but had been unable to catch him. Although he was very sickly, he still had some power left in him. Pia couldn't believe that nobody was trying to help the poor dog. By the time she found him, he was lying on the ground and wasn't moving. It seemed like the end for this dog, but Pia was determined not to give up hope. She knew that as long as he was alive, he could recover. There was no shine in his eyes, recounts Pia. At this point, he had given up. Pia knew she needed to do something. With the right medical care, she knew this dog could recover, and she was the only person who was willing to make that possibility a reality. While ordinarily, a stray dog might be wary of or even hostile towards unfamiliar humans, this pup was far too weak to protest. Pia wrapped a blanket around him to keep him warm as she tried to decide what to do next. Pia managed to place the dog in a cage, and took him to the vet. She was told that nothing could be done, and at best, they needed to wait until after Christmas to see if he even survived. Pia was not about to give up yet. Pia took the skeletal dog home with her immediately in the hopes of trying to save him. In all honesty, it looked as if he wouldn't survive the night, but at least she could make him comfortable in his last hours. The long night that followed was heartbreaking. The mangy dog was too weak to move, and couldn't even eat. Pia had to stay at his side, carefully tending to him. It seemed unlikely that he would make it to Christmas. While the dog couldn't eat, he could at least drink water. Pia kept topping up a bowl to keep him hydrated, holding it up to him so he could lap it up. This alone was much more care than he was used to, which soon started to brighten his eyes and change his spirits. In spite of his condition, the little dog refused to give up. Pia could tell that he wanted to live, and somehow, he endured his first day with her. Little did either of them know that this would not be the end of their incredible story. In recognition of her new friend's fighting spirit, and the miracle of his survival, Pia named the dog Hercules. He might not have been strong enough to stand up, but he was definitely strong enough to stay alive. He would soon prove even her wildest expectations wrong. Pia didn't know what she would do with Hercules in the long run. Eventually she'd need to find him a new home, but in the meantime, her priority was keeping him alive. There were 2 times when she was certain Hercules was going to die, but somehow he kept on living. Pia and Hercules continued to bond as he slowly grew stronger. Even small actions, like moving his legs, were beyond him, as he was still too weak. But things that seemed impossible so recently, like drinking and eating, were quickly becoming possible. So, Pia held out hope for more improvements. Eventually, finally, Hercules began to become more mobile. He was able to move his front paws and started growing back some of his fur. Even this improvement made him unrecognizable from his former self. He already seemed like a new dog. It took longer for Hercules' back legs to gain strength. Despite encouragement from Pia, he was unable to stand up or walk around. But Pia stood by his side for as long as he needed. Then, Hercules conquered his biggest trial. According to Pia, once he was ready, he simply stood up without needing any help. Hercules once again lived up to his name by showing incredible strength that no one thought possible. Hercules had been so weak that it was almost as if he needed to learn to walk all over again. His first shaky steps were difficult, but soon he was walking like a newborn puppy. With more time, Hercules started not only walking, but running as well. He also started playing games of fetch as he felt stronger. At this point, it was nearly impossible to know about his past just from looking at him. Only a few short days after regaining the use of his legs, Hercules' hair growth sped up dramatically. Soon he was bushy and fluffy, and looked significantly healthier. As Hercules became stronger, Pia prepared to put him up for adoption so that he could find a new forever home. But how could she say goodbye to a pup that loved her so much? In the end, Pia decided that she and Hercules couldn't bear to be parted. She adopted him herself, adding him to her family. As Hercules grew stronger, more of his personality shined through. Where he had been slow and reserved, he now bounded around the house, playing and yapping like any other healthy dog. 2 years later, Hercules doesn't even look like the same dog. He's made a full recovery, and there are no signs that he ever went through such a horrible ordeal. The only real visible evidence of his journey is the love and affection he shares with Pia. It's clear that Hercules is eternally grateful to his human for saving his life, and now he trusts her completely. Hercules and Pia show that no animal is beyond saving. Their journey has been difficult, but they have each other, and that has made all the difference. If you enjoyed this story, wait for our next story starting in 10 seconds. College is life-changing. For this teen, however, it wasn't just about entering a new phase. Applying to college changed the course of his life in a way he couldn't have imagined. There was an issue with JJ's social security number. It didn't match his name. Schools kept flagging his application because of it. Applying to college is hard enough when things like this don't go awry. JJ needed to get to the bottom of it. JJ Mangina lived a regular life. He lived with his father, Jonathan, in this house in Cleveland. But their life wasn't as simple as it seemed. Soon Jonathan would find out that his childhood was anything but normal and the family he knew was a lie. Jonathan was a single father. He had been raising JJ all by himself since the age of 5. He had big dreams for his son. He was always talking about his son. All he wanted him to do was to be able to go to college, said a neighbor. JJ's mother wasn't in the picture. Jonathan said she'd left when JJ was 5. Though JJ was born in Alabama, the two moved to Cleveland when JJ was young. Jonathan wanted a fresh start and soon found a good job in the area. JJ grew up to be a great student. By the time he was a senior in high school, he was an honors student. He almost aced his acts. It looked like his father's dream of having him go to college would be realized. JJ's dreams aligned with his father's. JJ also wanted to go to college. He planned to go to Ohio State University when he graduated. Given his ACT scores, he was a great candidate. But, when he tried to apply, his school's counselors found a wrench in his plans that they had never seen before. JJ applied to colleges. But there was a problem. It wasn't that he was getting rejected. Something else was going on. There is a lot of personal information that he had to submit with his applications, like any other student, including his name and ID, but these documents weren't matching up. There was an issue with JJ's social security number. It didn't match his name. Schools kept flagging JJ's application because of it. Applying to college is hard enough when things like this don't go awry. JJ needed to get to the bottom of it. JJ approached his school counselor. The counselor tried to get to the bottom of it. She eventually found what was happening. But it wasn't what anyone expected, and it soon changed the way JJ thought about his father. JJ was listed as a missing child. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had him on their list. He'd been missing for years and he had no idea. Surely a missing child would know they had been kidnapped, right? The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had a photo of JJ as a child. Not only that, they had a photo that had been age progressed. They had distributed it in an effort to find JJ. He'd been missing since he was 5 and he was now 18 years old. There were about to be a lot of discoveries. JJ's name wasn't even JJ, it was Julian. And his last name wasn't Mangina. It was Hernandez. Sadly, this discovery wouldn't be the end of the story. There was a lot more that JJ was about to learn about his father. His father also wasn't who he thought he was. His name wasn't Jonathan Mangina. It was Bobby Hernandez. What was going on? Julian's mother hadn't left. In fact, she still lived in Alabama, where Julian was born. It wasn't Julian's mother who had taken off. It was Julian's father. When the father and son moved to Cleveland when JJ was 5, he was kidnapping his son after losing a custody battle. When Julian was 5, his father had agreed to take him to preschool. He packed up Julian's baby blanket and a stuffed orca. He then went to the bank, drained all his accounts and took off with Julian. Because Julian was with his father, he didn't realize at 5 years old that the act was malicious. Julian had been kidnapped by his own father. Because he and Julian's mother were in a custody dispute, Bobby decided to take his son and disappear so he wouldn't have to face the court. He had taken Julian and vanished. Julian had no idea. When Julian was taken, his mother was desperate to find him. She had gone into Birmingham and put flyers everywhere. She was devastated. "I was desperately trying to find my baby," she wrote. I left his bedroom untouched for years, hoping he would come home. Julian's mother was deeply affected by the kidnapping. She left his bedroom untouched for years. She couldn't stop thinking about him. I didn't know if he had a home or if he was taken care of, she wrote. She was deeply affected by Bobby's actions and her hurt carried on for years. Julian's kidnapping changed how his mother lived her life. She had another son, and wouldn't let him play outside by himself. She locks her doors, even in the middle of the day. She was afraid of Julian's father. Bobby Hernandez was arrested. He was charged with kidnapping, but it didn't end there. Because of his use of a false identity, he was charged with forgery as well. He was also charged with tampering with evidence and interference with custody. In court, Julian pled on his father's behalf. He loved me and protected me more than anybody else could during my life, he said. I don't know what else to say other than do not send my father to jail. Even if other people can't, I forgive him for what he's done. I love him and I want him to be a part of my life. Julian said his father was responsible for making him the person he is today. He pushed him to excel at school. He said his father was the reason he got into college. He asked the judge not to send his father to prison. Taking my father away from me now just increases the pain, he said. Julian's mother, however, had some harsh words. In a statement read by her attorney, she described the day that Julian went missing as the worst day of her life. During my darkest moments I considered suicide, she wrote. Bobby tried to explain why he took Julian. Julian was the most important person in my life, he said. I accept full responsibility for everything I did. He broke down crying as he tried to explain. Bobby Hernandez was found guilty. The judge sentenced Hernandez to 4 years in prison. This is only 1 year above the minimum sentence, so it's fairly lenient. Ultimately, the judge sided with Julian. She said that she found his testimony the most persuasive when considering her sentence. Bobby Hernandez is seeking to get released from prison. He's only served 1 year of his 4-year sentence. His attorney is seeking he be freed, with some type of court supervision. The prosecutor's office is going to oppose his early release.